Hey up everyone, welcome back to the Rugby League History channel. Today on the channel I'll be doing my tips for round 18 of the 2024 NRL season. So this week we're back to the full complement of matches. We're back to the 8 games instead of 5. There's a lot to get through, so let's start off with the first match, which is happening on Thursday night. And the first match to kick us off is Parramatta against South Sydney on the Thursday night. This one's being played at the Western Sydney Stadium. Parramatta in 16th, South Sydney in 14th. Parramatta have lost their last 3 matches in the league and South Sydney have won their last 4 matches in the league. South Sydney, of course, are Parramatta's bogey side. They've won 8 of the last 10 matches against them. And the last time that these two sides met was only just over a month ago, where a South Sydney team missing 7 or 8 of their first graders defeated Parramatta 42 points to 26 by memory, and it actually played South Sydney into form because since then they haven't looked back. Now last week with Parramatta, well, it was another game where this is the 3rd time in a row this has happened where they've taken the lead in the game, haven't managed to hold on to the lead, but in saying that, Parramatta were denied 2 fair tries, which pretty much everyone said were tries, and in the end they ended up losing to Newcastle by 8 points. So 2 tries disallowed and they lost by 8 points, and I'm just going to leave it there. South Sydney coming into this game off the bye. Who do I think is going to win? Well, if you were a neutral or someone that isn't a Parramatta supporter, with the way that South Sydney have had the wood over Parra for the last couple of years, you'd have to lean that way. But as a Parramatta supporter myself, I still believe in this team. I mean, yes, they've been losing games, but the last 3 weeks, they've been in the game. They've been in front. It's just that they can't get the job done. And eventually the penny's going to drop and they're going to get another win. And I think they've been building towards a win. So I'll go for Parramatta to win by 1 to 12 points. But obviously, if I was a neutral, I probably would lean more towards South Sydney due to their recent record against Parra. The first match on the Friday is between Cronulla-Sutherland and the Gold Coast. This one's being played at the Coffs Harbour International Stadium. Cronulla in 3rd at the moment, Gold Coast in 15th. Now I say this every year, I'm a bit of a broken record, but the Coffs Harbour International Stadium was the site of the biggest ever victory by a football team over another football team, and that's when Australia defeated American Samoa 31-0 in a World Cup qualifier back in 2001. Now with Cronulla, they've defeated the Gold Coast in their last 9 encounters against them, so they've certainly got the wood over the men from the glitter strip. With Cronulla last week, that game to me was a perfect advertisement for why we have to have draws, because I think that game against Canterbury was a perfect case for a draw. Unfortunately, these days you have to have golden point and a winner, but I think that the match that Cronulla and Canterbury played was a fair draw. Shouldn't have gone to golden point. Anyway, they lost that one by a point. And as for the Gold Coast, well, after they come into this game off the bye, but the match before that, they recorded the biggest ever win in their history. And not only was it the biggest win in their history, it was the biggest win by any Gold Coast team that's existed in the New South Wales Rugby League / NRL competition since the first team came in 1988. This is going to be a really interesting game because I tell you what, especially with the Gold Coast, they're such a funny team. Like, I mean, they lose to West Tigers and then they absolutely batter New Zealand. So hard to get a read on them. And Cronulla's the same. They've been up and down this year. If I was to go for a winner though, with the way that the two sides have been playing this year, I'm leaning more towards Cronulla. I just think Cronulla's been a better team this year over the Gold Coast, so I'll go for Cronulla to win by 1 to 12 points in Coffs Harbour. And the main match on the Friday, it's the grand final rematch part 2. It's Brisbane against Penrith at Suncorp, and it sees Brisbane in 10th place at the moment, Penrith in 2nd. Penrith have won 7 of their last 10 matches against Brisbane, and Brisbane have lost 4 straight matches in the league. Last time out, both of these two teams had disappointing losses, and especially with Penrith, they just looked a bit flat, I think. It's something that you normally don't see from them. Especially on top of that, North Queensland had 2 players in the sin bin and it still didn't affect the result. Ivan Cleary said that the game was like you're baking a cake but you don't put icing on it after you finished it. So that's a bit of a funny thing to say in a press conference. As for Brisbane, they had a disappointing loss against New Zealand there in Auckland. This is going to be another really interesting game to watch. Hard one to call because obviously Brisbane's got a couple of players out. I'm pretty sure a lot of the Origin contingent for Penrith will be back for this one. Yeah, I'm going to lean towards Penrith. I'm going to go for Penrith to win by 1-12. I think it'll be a really good match, but I just see Penrith winning it in the end. And the first match on Super Saturday is between Canterbury Bankstown and New Zealand. This one's being played at Stadium Australia. Canterbury in 5th, New Zealand in 13th. New Zealand have won their last 6 matches against Canterbury in the league. Last time out, Canterbury got a narrow 1-point victory over Cronulla in golden point extra time, although as I said earlier in the video, it was one of them games where I think just should have been a draw after 80 minutes. As for New Zealand, I had a feeling that they would bounce back after getting battered. Most teams when they get humiliated like that do, and they had a good win over there in Auckland. I mean, this is another hard game to call because especially with New Zealand, they're sat somewhere on the table where I think a lot of people didn't expect them to be, and Canterbury just keep managing to get wins. They're still undefeated at home. They're the only team left in the NRL that hasn't lost a home match yet. I'm leaning more towards Canterbury. They've got one of the best defensive records in the league. They're playing well. So yeah, I'll go for Canterbury to win by 1-12 points in a close one on Saturday. The second match on Super Saturday is between West Tigers and Melbourne. This one's being played at Leichhardt Oval. Melbourne first on the table and West Tigers bottom of the table. They're equal on points with Parramatta but have a worse for and against. Melbourne have won their last 6 matches against West Tigers. The last time that West Tigers defeated Melbourne was in round 5 of the 2018 NRL season. For this one, I think that West Tigers do play a bit better when they're at Leichhardt Oval, but I will go for Melbourne to win. In that match against the Sydney Roosters, West Tigers were badly exposed on the edges, I think, and obviously Craig Bellamy would have been watching the tapes from that match, and he'll just be telling the Melbourne players to attack the fringes of the West Tigers team, and you'll get plenty of points there. So I think West Tigers will give Melbourne a game, but I'm going to go for Melbourne to win 13 plus there on the Saturday. And the final match on Super Saturday is between North Queensland and Manly Warringah. This match is being played at the Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. North Queensland in 7th, Manly in 9th. The last 10 meetings between these two sides has been 5 wins apiece. Manly's record in Townsville of recent has been actually quite good. The last 2 times that Manly have travelled up to the Queensland Country Bank Stadium, they've won, and then at the ALD Stadium, 1300 Smiles, Stockland Stadium, whatever you want to call it, they won their last 2 matches there as well. The last time that North Queensland defeated Manly in Townsville was in round 16 of the 2016 NRL season. Huge news for this game for Manly is that Tom Trbojevic is coming back into the team, but apparently he's going to be playing at centre. And they're coming off the bye. North Queensland had an impressive win over Penrith away down there at Penrith Stadium. This is a really, like a lot of the matches this week, they're tough to call. I don't know, I'm leaning more towards North Queensland for this match actually. I think if the game were played at Brookvale Oval, I'd probably lean more towards Manly. I don't know, I have a feeling about North Queensland. Maybe that win over Penrith might turn a corner with them, because they do have an alright team on paper. So I'll go for North Queensland to win by 1-12 points on the Saturday. And the first match on Sunday is Sydney Roosters against St George. This one's being played at the new Sydney Football Stadium. St George are in 8th currently. Who would have thought that at the start of the year? And Sydney Roosters in 4th. Now in recent times, East have had the win over St George. They've won 8 of the last 10 matches against them. And of course earlier this year on Anzac Day, they absolutely battered St George. I think they put 60 points on them. So yeah, in recent times East have had a great record against St George. Both of these two teams had good wins last time out, especially with St George defeating Redcliffe at Cogra Oval. And I've said in a few videos this year that sure, St George don't win every week, but they do put in performances like that and they do get results. They're a tricky team. They're a team that you probably don't want to play. Looking at these two teams on paper, Sydney Roosters do have a better squad. They've been playing really well. Of course, the loss of Joey Manu for a month's going to be a bad thing, but they've got enough quality to cover that position. So for this match, I'm going to tip Sydney Roosters to win by 13 plus. I think that they'll rack up a bit of a score like they did earlier in the year against St George. And the final match to close out round 18 is between Canberra and Newcastle. This one's being played at Bruce Stadium in Canberra. Canberra in 12th place at the moment, Newcastle in 11th. In the last 10 meetings between these two sides, Newcastle have a slight advantage. They've won 6 of the last 10. Last time out, Canberra had a much improved effort in their loss against Melbourne. And for Newcastle, well, as I alluded to earlier in the video, they won the game by 8 points over Parramatta, but Parramatta had 2 fair tries disallowed. Plus, Newcastle scored one of their tries where Gutherson was impeded by the referee. Then they scored another one where they didn't do the captain's challenge in time, but somehow got the captain's challenge anyway. Honestly, it's a bit of a joke, isn't it? But anyway, with this match, I mean, Canberra's a funny team, aren't they? They're up and down. Newcastle, they're another team where it's really hard to get a read on them, because as well with that Parramatta game, they scored 2 tries from basically, like, it was a bad pass from Parramatta and they've just scooped it up and run away. So it's really hard to gauge how this match is going to go. But I'm going to back the home team. I'm going to go for Canberra to win by 112 points. I think that KO Weeks will have another big game. And I think, I mean, when Fogarty comes back from injury, I don't think he's going to have a place in the team, to be fair, like, because KO Weeks has been one of the, you can say, revelations this year, coming up through the team due to injury. So I'm going to go Canberra to win by 112 points. So there's my tipping video for round 18 of the 2024 NRL season. Hope you all enjoyed that video. If you did, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know who you're tipping and place them down in the section below. Thanks to everyone that made my video one of the most watched tipping videos last week. Thanks for supporting the channel and subscribing, and I'll catch you all later in the next one. Alright, ta-ra for now.